Richmond here with the Speaker Lab, back with another Sunday short. And this Sunday short is going to be a little bit different than they typically have been. I'm going to bring in my colleague, Dan Irvin, to tell you some fun stories. Listen, there are some things that you just tell yourself, you just can't make this stuff up, right? And they're fun stories. So today's Sunday short is meant to make you laugh and really connect with you and realize that you're not alone in all the things that could possibly happen while you're out on the speaking trail, whether it's actual travel or what you're living with, whether you're on stage or not, all the things. But he has some hilarious stories that literally put me in tears. I cry so hard, laugh so hard. So I'm gonna definitely get those videos rolling for you now. So stay tuned. I'm gonna pass the mic over to him. See you guys next week.
I feel like you and I talk a couple times a week, especially when we're both traveling. And I feel like every time we talk, it's something new that's going on. And I don't know, I've had a lot. One of the ones that I think there's two that really stand out to me. Last year, one of the trips I took was to go do a speaking event in New Jersey, in Atlantic City, right? And so I live in Dallas, which is a nice area to just be able to get anywhere, right? The Dallas airport. And so I knew that I had to go to Jersey. And so I had to go to Jersey through Philadelphia. And so booked my flight like normal, no big deal. Didn't think anything of it. And flew from Dallas to Philadelphia, no problems, got there. And I knew I had a little bit of time between my connector. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to grab some lunch. I actually talked to someone that was in the lunch line that was like, needed a speaker. That's a totally different story. He was just like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a speaker. And he's like, oh, we hire speakers. Anyways, we exchanged cards. Okay. Long story short. So I was eating lunch and then I wasn't thinking anything of it. And then I went to the next terminal for my connector and didn't, I had my AirPods in, was kind of going through the motions, and they scanned my phone, right, with the barcode and everything. And I walked through like you normally do. And then all of a sudden I realized that things weren't the same as what I was used to. Cause like we went down some stairs and then we're outside and then like I'm following these cones, this like manufactured pathway of cones to this bus, to like a Greyhound bus. And I was like, okay, this is weird. Like maybe they're going to put us like take a bus to a plane, and okay, that's no big deal. And so I get on the bus and I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then I sit down and then I realize that the seats are numbered, and the seat number that I had on my app was a corresponding seat number to what was on the ceiling. And then I was like, wait a minute, are we taking a bus to Atlantic City? And then I pulled up my app real quick and I'm looking at the app and I looked at the connector flight on my app and it said, I'm not kidding you, I wish I had a screenshot of this. It said aircraft type : bus.
You thought you were going to be on a plane?
Yeah, let me be clear with you. A bus is not an aircraft type.
Right, exactly.
And so that's when I realized that American has a whole other part of their business that's like landline. And so we took an hour bus ride from Philadelphia airport, like literally left the secured fencing and everything, drove to it. And then I'm like, I wonder where are they going to let us out inside the airport in Atlantic City? And then we have to go back. No, they let us out at the front entrance of the airport.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, that was an interesting thing. And I actually have to go, I'm going back to Atlantic City later this year. And now I know what to expect. And the other funny thing about that was that when I figured out, I was like the first 2 or 3 people on the bus. When I sat down and then I realized I was in the wrong seat and I got in my right seat, I then watched every other person come on that bus and be completely confused to then come to the realization that we were all taking a bus. It was actually quite funny at that point. But anyways, you never know. You never know that your aircraft type is going to be a bus. Just FYI.
Yeah. Seriously, like as soon as you told me that, I was like, I had no idea American did buses. And apparently you can Google it, friends. It's actually a real legit thing. It wasn't just like oops, we forgot an aircraft. Let's throw all these people on the bus. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So for about 45 minutes, 50 minutes on the bus ride, I went down the rabbit hole of learning all about American Airlines' whole bus line that they offered. Cause I'm like, this is fascinating. And there's a little glimpse into my weird, nerdy, geeky life. Okay, moving on.
moving on, because I think like how we handle these things says a lot about, how we connect with our decision makers and, making sure we're at the event and being timely and things like that. So what advice would you give to our listeners about any of that?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, just have fun with it. Right. That was a unique experience. And now I get to tell you about it and other people, and it just turned it into a fun thing. Right. And just expect things and just give yourself enough time too. Right. And so I try to give myself enough time for things like that to happen. Or not like that. I still got there on time, but just enjoy it and kind of experience it and live in it, because the reality of it is, as much as weird as that was, I still got there on time. But I'm still doing what I absolutely love doing. I still get to like travel and connect with people and be on stages and have a good time doing it. And so I think part of it is just enjoy it. Enjoy it. Like, I think that when I think about my speaking business, and we've talked about this before, but I mean, maybe if we're lucky, think about this for a second. If we're lucky, 5% of our time is actually on a stage speaking. Mm-hmm. Right. And most of us get into speaking because we think about, being on a stage and delivering a message and connecting with audiences. Like, we think like we can't wait to do that. But as a speaker, like 5% of my time is spent on a stage speaking, because I do like an hour talk or a 90-minute talk. Right. And so when you think about an hour or 90 minutes in the grand scheme of time that we spend traveling and preparing and doing all the other things, it's actually a very small amount. And so when you're actually in it and doing as a part of it, for me, that's part of that 5% that I just want to live in, that I want to enjoy, that I don't want to lose sight of. Right. And then when things pop up that are outside of your control, that delay you, that you can't expect, you just got to ride along with it. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes
literally
you just have to deal with it. I got to share this one other story. I got a couple, but this other one, I got stuck in Orlando for 3 days one time. Yeah. And literally, like, I was speaking down there at Disney there, and I was supposed to come back, and a hurricane came in and shut down the airport.
Yeah.
So I stayed in 3 different hotel rooms for 3 nights. I packed everything up 3 times. And because I was having to move around, I was trying to get a flight. The 3rd day, I finally was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to leave Orlando, because it was just all the flights were bumped and I couldn't find one. So I ended up going to Fort Myers. The only reason I know anything about the Fort Myers airport is because of this trip, which, by the way, if you're wondering, Fort Myers airport is 3 hours south of Orlando. I took an Uber for 3 hours to get to the Fort Myers airport to fly home. And so for 3 days, I mean, for technically 2 days, because the first day I was there speaking, but the 2 additional days, I mean, I was just I just embraced it. Right. I had my laptop. I just did work. I just made phone calls. I just followed up. And even I decided to take the Uber because I wanted the extra time just to be in the back of the Uber on my computer.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just made the most out of the time. And I think that's one of the things you got to think about. I mean, if you're a speaker that's running your own business, just because you're traveling doesn't mean you're not still running your business. Right? And so how can you find the spaces and the opportunities to do the business work that you need to do, but also just enjoy the time?
Well, Dan, leave the people with any insight that you'd like to have them know about being on the trail, any advice you'd have for them, because I think, especially when we first start off, you never anticipate these things happening, but they do happen. So anything you'd like to leave them with?
I think our conversation around the 5% is pretty impactful. I think, and we talk about that a lot. You and I talk about it in some of the coachings and stuff that we do with groups here at the Speaker Lab. And it's something that I have to constantly remind myself, not only from a perspective of like 95% of being a speaker is not on stage, right? Mm-hmm. And so how are you showing up for the 95%? Because we all want to get into speaking to do the 5, but you have to do the 95 to get to the 5. And then the flip side of that is when you're in the 5, be in it. Be all in it. Enjoy every second of it, because it's only 5%. And so know that you can live in those 5% moments if you allow yourself to. And I hope that you do. See ya.